everyone from the Dominguez Hills Velodrome for what promises to be a spectacular day cycling in the Olympic competition. It's the semi-final and final day for the pursuit riders, and we're also down to the last 18 in the sprint, and Australia is well represented in both of those events. We have Dean Woods through to the semi-finals of the pursuit, and he will ride in Heat 2 against the favourite for this event, Steve Hegg from the United States. The rider you can see sitting on the track at the moment is the second American rider, Leonard Nitz, who is about to contest his semi-final against Rolf Golz from West Germany. It will be Nitz who will start in the back straight and Golz who will start in the front straight. But the sensational development this morning is that Dean Woods is warming up on the infield with a carbon fibre rear wheel, a disc rear wheel. To the best of our knowledge, the Australians didn't have one. In fact, there wasn't one in Australia, so quite obviously they've been able to borrow one overnight. This will give them an immense boost psychologically and even physically. It could improve, or literally it could improve their time, or Woods' time, by anything up to 3 or 4 seconds. So that's a terrific development for Australia overnight as far as the pursuit rider Dean Woods is concerned. He's the world junior champion, and he's got a very big job in front of him in trying to upset Steve Hegg of the United States, who's ridden some sensational times during the earlier rounds of the individual pursuit. But Woods apparently is very fit and very keen, and he is determined to do well in his pursuit semi-final. He will ride in the second semi-final. These are the riders in the first semi-final: Leonard Nitz of the United States on your left and Rolf Golz of West Germany on your right.
And perhaps a word of explanation for the people joining us for the first time in the individual pursuit event. The two riders start on opposite sides of the track and literally pursue each other around the track. The distance is 4 kilometres, 12 laps of this venue, and should one rider overtake the other, gaining a full half lap, then the race is immediately concluded. The riders, of course, being into the last 4 of the semi-finals, the race would be immediately concluded. One declared the winner, and he, of course, would have a shorter distance to the final. International start order is being given, and away they go. In the left of the picture, now in full screen, is Leonard Nitz riding that carbon fibre disc rear wheel, which has proved such a tremendous advantage both psychologically and mechanically in these Olympic Games for 1984. In the back straight, Golz of West Germany settling down. Now, Golz has in fact recorded a faster time than Nitz in the preceding quarter-final round. In fact, Golz was within 6/100ths of a second of the fastest rider, the other American, Steve Hegg. Golz holding the line right down on the bottom of the track. The track is measured around the black line at the bottom of the track, and that's the line that the pursuiters tend to put their front wheel right on that line and lay the bike down with the shoulder over those inside strips around the bottom of the track to absolutely cover the minimum distance possible. You can see the split, and in fact Golz is nearly 1.5 seconds in advance of Nitz at this stage.
Yes, Dick, and they're coming around to complete the first kilometre of this race. Golz has half a lap left in which to complete the first kilometre. It's a 4-kilometre race. Conditions are absolutely perfect here at Dominguez Hills. It's a fine but cloudy day and nowhere near the same degree of heat. And as they go through the first kilometre, Golz goes through in 1 minute 10.62, and Nitz has reduced the leeway to less than a second.
Now, that's the fastest first kilometre we've seen in this competition so far. Now, have in mind that in the first round, Steve Hegg created an outdoor record when he completed the 4 kilometres in 4:35, and he went through the first kilometre in only 1:11. So we're at the moment watching the fastest riders in the competition so far.
Well, Nitz has clapped on the pressure, Golz has clapped on the pressure again, and he's extended his lead during that lap to 1.5 seconds.
This is Leonard Nitz riding the revolutionary bike. Down the back straight, it's Golz powering around the bend, riding a very smooth course around there. Golz recognised as one of the fastest riders in the competition before this year's games commenced, whereas Nitz is a relative newcomer onto the international scene of pursuiting, although he has won the last 4 USA National Pursuit Championships.
Coming up to the halfway mark in this race, it's a 12-lap race. There's absolutely no breeze. It's perfectly still here at Dominguez Hills, so conditions ideal for fast times and good riding, and we're seeing a great display here from Golz of West Germany as he comes down now with 6 laps to go, and he's more than 2 seconds. In fact, he's gone more than 4 seconds in front of Nitz of the United States, so Golz riding a superb race here in the first semi-final of the individual pursuit.
And still inside the fastest time to the 2-kilometre point that we had previously seen. That's Golz. Around the bend, coming down the finishing straight now and holding a big advantage over Leonard Nitz. In fact, at this rate, Golz may even overtake Nitz. And that's undoubtedly going to be his aim, because if he can foreshorten the race, he has to, of course, front up again for the final, only 2 hours away. So if he can overtake within the distance, naturally it's a more rest for Golz before the all-important race for the gold and silver medal. In fact, Nitz is looking over the shoulder. There's Nitz as he goes around, looked over the shoulder then and almost has resigned himself to being caught. In fact, I'd say he's now saving himself for the runoff for third and fourth. Here's the conclusion of this semi-final as Golz overtakes Nitz.
Well, that's a sensational performance by Golz, Dick.
Now, I suggest, Wally, that what we've just seen is a very smart piece of tactics on the part of the Americans.
I was just going to suggest the same thing.
They have seen that their number one rider, Hegg, is most likely going to go through to the final, and they've decided to hold Harvey Nitz back, protect him in this round so that he will come up fresh against the loser of the next semi-final.
Well, there are 4 riders left in this competition, of course, and one of them is going to miss out on a medal. The runoff for third and fourth will be held in about 40 minutes' time, and the final will be contested in about 2 hours' time. Now, Nitz obviously has something of an advantage too. The disadvantage, of course, is that he's no longer in contention for the gold medal, but there's the winner of the first semi-final. That's Golz of West Germany.
In fact, this makes it quite hard for Dean Woods. Dean Woods, of course, still with the gold medal in his sights, will be doing his utmost in this semi-final to defeat the number 1 seed Steve Hegg of the United States. And the runoff for third and fourth, should Woods not be successful in defeating the favourite, the runoff for third and fourth is within an hour. So it leaves very little time for the riders to recover for that all-important race-off for the bronze medal. So let's hope that Dean Woods can, with the revolutionary disc wheel now in the back, and he hasn't used it yet, so it would be not only a mechanical advantage, but it would be a huge psychological boost to Woods to be now getting on what is virtually the state of the art. So let's see what sort of a difference it can make. Woods will start in the back straight.
This event, of course, is one that is of particular interest to Australians at the moment, and I guess more specifically West Australians, because the champion West Australian cyclist Steele Bishop is the current world professional pursuit champion, a title that he won in Zurich in 1983. So I guess it's an event that many Australians would be familiar with, particularly the cycling fraternity. And Bishop, of course, a great cyclist who has achieved magnificent things from Australia, which is not easy to do because of the remoteness of the country, its geographical location.
There's Woods, the 18-year-old from Wangaratta in Victoria. He's being accompanied by Charlie Walsh, the Australian track coach. Walsh, in fact, will shortly position himself on the inside of the track to give Woods the instructions early in the race. Each rider is permitted 1 coach to coach from the inside of the track.
Is there any chance, Dick, that Woods would concede that he couldn't beat Hegg?
I don't believe so. I think Woods is at 18 years of age, wouldn't concede anyone as being his superior. He's been improving at such a rate that I don't think that he would have written off his chances, even though the performances of Steve Hegg in the first rounds would surely be intimidating, to say the least.
I'm just wondering if he might adopt the same tactics and allow Hegg to run him down earlier in the race, conserve himself for the runoff for the bronze.
Well, it's possible. Anything's possible. We're seeing a little bit of cat and mouse at the moment. In the background, you see Hegg now coming, almost in a collision, coming to the start point where Woods has actually been on the bicycle and sitting there ready to start. Hegg has delayed his passage to his bicycle, just drops the road bike on which he's been warming up.
Gee, this really is a battle of tactics here this morning, isn't it? We haven't seen this so far in the Olympic cycling program. If you've just joined us, we've just seen Leonard Harvey Nitz from the United States almost concede defeat to Rolf Golz in the first semi-final, obviously to save himself for the runoff for third and fourth, but at the same time to make Golz work hard so that his job against this man, the favoured number 1 American rider, Steve Hegg, will be a more difficult one. And now we see Hegg employing these delaying tactics, obviously intended to upset the younger Australian rider in Dean Woods. Woods, of course, the world junior champion. Whether he wins a medal or not, this has been an outstanding performance by Woods to get through to the semi-finals of the Olympic competition, remembering that he is still a junior rider, just 18 years of age.
And I think that's probably the reason that the American camp has deliberately left Woods sitting on the mark there, knowing that the younger rider would probably be getting increased nerves at this stage. Hegg, of course, is not an experienced rider, so he'd be obeying the instructions of Eddie Borsevich, who has done a remarkable job with the Americans over the last 5 years. Steve Hegg, in fact, has only been cycling for some 2 years, and it's incredible. He's another one that has made the transition from a champion skier. Could have almost gone to Yugoslavia in the Olympic ski team, but decided to stick with bicycles once he found that that seemed to be another passage to the Olympics.
That's right. In fact, the winter of 1983-84 was the first winter in which Hegg gave up competitive skiing to tackle cycling seriously. So he really is a Johnny-come-lately on the international cycling scene, but hasn't he made an impression? He's an outstanding prospect and certainly the favoured American.
Steve Hegg on the right of screen, Dean Woods on the left. They will shortly get the international command to get ready. That is, of course, in French, and not so much the words, but the cadence of the start is all important. The gun should immediately follow the starter giving the instructions of Monsieur le Coureur, attention.
I'm just wondering how long they can continue these tactics, Dick.
They're messing around there. The American coach is finding all sorts of things to inspect on the bicycle, and I think this is just deliberately stretching out the start. He's already had one whistle from the commissaire to hurry up.
Take a very courageous commissaire to disqualify an American here, I can tell you.
Flags are up. And away. Dean Woods, quite slow to begin. Hegg's made the better start for the first few turns of the pedals. You can see that not only has Hegg a disc back wheel, he also has a disc chain wheel. In the first round, Hegg rode a disc front wheel as well, but he did say that he found trouble with the gusting wind and therefore has opted for a spoke front wheel. There's Dean Woods coming around to complete his first lap and riding good line right round the bottom of the track with that disc back wheel. Let's see what sort of a difference it's making. They've gone across the line, almost locked together, only 5/100ths of a second difference,
with Woods slightly in front.
We have noticed, however, that Hegg has been slow to begin in each of his races. So it's a matter of whether the tactics instructed to Wood would also require him to get off the mark rather comfortably and to conserve energy through. Woods has now gone to a little bit more lead, 0.27 seconds in advance. So Wood has in fact increased over the second lap rather than starting too quickly in the first.
Well, they're coming down to complete the first kilometre of this 4-kilometre event. Woods has less than half a lap to go to complete that first kilometre. He'll have 9 laps left as he goes past the start-finish line in the back straight, and it'll be interesting to see if he's been able to maintain his advantage. He has, in fact. He's increased it to half a second, and he goes through that first kilometre in 1 minute 12 seconds dead.
Now, the interesting thing, of course, in this race, it's great to put in a great time, but it doesn't matter a darn if you're not in the final. And the great Sid Patterson of Australia was a pursuit rider who probably didn't ride record times, but Pato was able to always race his opponent on the other side of the track and in many cases sprint home in those last couple of laps to dramatically snatch victory from almost certain defeat. That's Hegg going down the back straight, riding a comfortable line. The bicycle looking quite strange, and of course the helmet, which is shaped so that there is a continuous line from the back of the head to the arched back. They come up with now Hegg has gone to the front. Hegg has gone to the front, and Woods is 0.48 seconds in arrears. This time around, they will have the halfway point at 6 laps to go.
Yes, this will be 6 laps completed, 6 laps to go for Dean Woods and Steve Hegg of the United States. Hegg has been the pace setter throughout this individual pursuit competition. He rode a sensational time in the first round, and he's now starting to apply some pressure. Let's see what the situation is at the halfway mark. Woods is in arrears by 1.18 seconds, and Hegg goes through in 2 minutes 21.6.
Now, I think the acid will go on Charlie Walsh now, because if Charlie Walsh assesses that, in fact, Woods is not capable of bringing back the deficit, I would think that Charlie Walsh may well give an indication to him to ease, to start conserving energy for the all-important run-off for the bronze medal. He's just about to pass Walsh. Let's look at what the signal is. No discernible signal there. So that's Hegg going around the end bend and holding a very comfortable in line. In fact, for a rider only in competition for 2 years, it's quite remarkable the way he's holding a line under the bottom measuring line, keeping clear of the polystyrene foam obstacles that are placed around the broad blue band at the bottom of the track, but actually riding for the main part in between the measuring line and that broad blue band.
Well, Hegg has taken complete control here now. His lead is out to 3.5 seconds, And as Dick has indicated, it will be interesting to see what the Australian tactics are, whether or not Woods decides to drop his pace completely and allow Hegg to catch him, which would terminate the race. And by doing that, Woods, of course, would conserve energy in going through to the ride-off for the bronze medal, which will take place in only 40 minutes' time. As they go down now with 1 kilometre left to ride, Woods is 4.44 seconds in arrears, and Hegg went through there in 3 minutes 41. So he's still applying the pressure, and although he doesn't appear to be, although Woods doesn't appear to be slackening to such an extent that he's going to allow Hegg to catch him.
In fact, I start to get the feeling that they both may be playing a little bit of a game here. The coach is giving Hegg the indication to just keep it steady, and I think in many ways Hegg might be choosing to try and leave Wood out there to make sure that the race does go its full distance, even though I do get the feeling both riders are conserving energy. They virtually decided that the result of the race is, has already been decided, and they're both intent on not making it any more difficult than they can for the remainder, or the 1 lap remaining.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt now that Steve Hegg of the United States is going to go through and meet Rolf Golz from West Germany in the final of the individual pursuit, which means that Australia's World Junior Champion Dean Woods from Wangaratta in Victoria will ride off against Leonard Nitz in the ride-off for the bronze medal. As Nitz comes down, he's still taking his time.
That's what's happened. They both just cruised those last couple of laps with the final round in mind rather than any thought to times in the semi-final round.
Yes, Hegg's time of 4 minutes 55.02 seconds is some 20 seconds outside the time that he rode in the first qualifying round of the individual pursuit, which gives you an indication of his tactics in this particular semi-final. A real game of mental gymnastics out here, a great test of strength, of course, pursuit cycling, but one has to be mentally alert as well. And both the coaches were kept busy during the course of that semi-final.
You see now the reason why in all rounds earlier the seeding for the next round is determined on time, but once they get to these semi-finals they do not bring back 2 of the same nationality to ride in the semi-final rounds, because all too often in recent history one rider of the same team has given his opponent or his teammate a very easy ride through to the next final round.
So the result of the second semi-final, Steve Hegg of the United States defeated Dean Woods of Australia. The first semi-final, Rolf Golz of West Germany defeated Leonard Nitz of the United States. It's Golz versus Hegg in the final of the individual pursuit later this morning. We'll be back for a coverage of the ride-off for third of the bronze medal between Dean Woods of Australia and Leonard Nitz of the United States. And of course, later in the morning, we also have Kenrick Tucker involved in the next round of the sprint. But in the meantime, we're going back to Peter Waltham in the studio.
Thanks very much, Wally, and we'll all be keeping our fingers crossed for Dean in round about, as Wally said, 40 minutes' time. Let's take a break in Los Angeles, and we'll be back in just a moment.